about him are legendary, and not in a good way. Wrestlers talk about his temper, his weird demands, and his need to control everything. Then
he made a character and he, ended up being like so far worse than his character that he was playing on TV. People really did not fuck with this nigga behind the scenes.
Oh, what's up? Oh, what's up?
Yo, what up? It's Majay back here with another video. Today I'm about to be reacting to a video by Wrestling Fusion. And the video is going to be on most loved versus most hated WWE families. And I'm already assuming the most hated is gonna have to be the McMahons, bro. They are well, they're well popular, but like they gotta be like one of the most hated families on there, bro. Not just because they did what the hell they did in the past, but because of Vince McMahon alone, honestly. But I feel like the most love gotta be, the high tier bloodline. I know he put it in the thumbnail or whatever, but like it gotta be the bloodline. Gotta be Cody's family. I don't know. There's just a lot to be loved in, like, the families. I don't know about the most hated families, but the love families I know. Let's get into it. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you've been enjoying the wrestling videos. And let's get into it.
some wrestling families get treated like royalty, while others destroy their reputation with scandals and controversies.
Oh, okay.
In this video, we're looking at the most...
So I guess the wrestling families could be, attributed to like singular people that kind of ruined their legacy. But all right.
most loved and most hated wrestling families of all time, starting with the Flairs. This family needs no introduction. Ric Flair is the Nature Boy, a 16-time world champion, one of the most influential wrestlers who ever lived. His daughter Charlotte follows in his footsteps as one of the most dominant women's champions in WWE history. On paper, the Flairs should be wrestling royalty that fans worship. Instead, they're one of the most polarizing families in the business. The problems start with Ric himself. Behind the chops and the flashy robes, stories of backstage politics follow him everywhere. Former wrestlers talk about how Ric would influence booking decisions, and how he'd make sure he looked good even when he was supposed to lose. Then there's the personal stuff.
What? I thought that was only Hogan. So he was doing some backstage politicking back then. I mean, I know a lot of wrestlers were doing a lot of politicking backstage, but like I never knew Ric Flair was doing that. But like, Hulk Hogan was like the most known for that. Even like somebody that couldn't even like watch wrestling that much would know Hulk Hogan had a big ass ego.
Multiple divorces, financial problems, and an
Sheesh.
infamous plane ride from hell incident that damaged his reputation for years when Flair was accused of misbehaving with flight attendants. Charlotte faces similar criticism. Fans accuse her of getting pushed because of her last name, not her talent. They say she gets title reigns that other women deserve. The nepotism claims never stop, even though she's proven herself in the ring time and time again. David Flair is the family's
Look, I got my gripes with Charlotte, but Charlotte is an overall great person, bro. Like I mean, it's not her fault that she just gets pushed a lot. She's a huge talent, but like, those spots could be used for a lot of people. I could agree some of her reigns were just like not, didn't need to be title reigns, honestly.
forgotten son who had brief stints in WCW and TNA, but quickly realized that the wrestling world wasn't for him. The Flair family is mostly defined by the Nature Boy and Charlotte,
Flair.
and they have the skills, the championships, and the legacy. But they also have the backstage drama, the politics, and the controversies that make fans question their accomplishments. It's a perfect example of how talent alone doesn't guarantee respect from the fans. Sometimes the stuff that happens behind the curtain matters more than what happens inside the ring. But speaking of families that are not only respected in the ring...
Will I say they're hated? I would say they're in between in like limbo. I wouldn't say I hate them because I don't get that vibe. I just don't like that Charlotte's, pushed to the top. And, Ric Flair is just an old like guy that just needs to retire. He did a lot of like stuff backstage that is just weird though.
But also feared backstage. Let's talk about the bloodline.
Oh.
From The Rock to Roman Reigns to Jey Uso, this Samoan wrestling dynasty has ruled the wrestling industry for decades. The family's elders, like Rikishi, Umaga, and Haku, left legacies that fans still celebrate today. The Rock became Hollywood's biggest star, but he never forgot his wrestling roots. He was one of the biggest stars of the Attitude Era, and his rivalry with Stone Cold Steve Austin gave the WWE its hottest period ever. He won the WWE Championship multiple times and feuded against everyone from Brock Lesnar and Hulk Hogan to CM Punk and John Cena. Even
Low-key, bro, I'll get tired of them running the damn bloodline feud back. I love that story back to 2020 to like 2024 ish when it ended. But like they just keep recycling and recycling. But they put on a lot of great matches, but they just put each other in like different stages. One of them could be heel, one of them could be face. But like I feel like they overdo it too much for the audience to start hating the family.
today, he comes back for WrestleMania moments and treats everyone with respect. Roman Reigns took a different path. Fans hated him at first because the company pushed him too hard and too fast, but Roman didn't complain. He kept working, kept improving, and eventually, fans had no choice but to acknowledge him. His heel run as the Tribal Chief gave us the most historic title reign of the modern era. He feuded with everyone from Brock Lesnar and John Cena to Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. Today, Roman Reigns is the top guy in the world of wrestling. Then we have the Usos. Although they are not as big stars as Roman himself, they're a perfect example of how this family connects with fans on a personal level with their energy and heart. They are one of the most legendary tag teams in WWE history, and the Bloodline storyline would be incomplete without their involvement. The women in the family get the same respect. What makes the Bloodline special is that they understand wrestling is about more than championships. It's about respect, family, and treating people right. They've never had major backstage controversies. They don't show disrespect. They just work hard and let their talent speak for itself. But not every wrestling family figured that out, especially one family that controlled the...
Yeah, I fucking love the Samoan family, bro. They got so much respect from everybody, bro. I know it could be hasty, like I just said earlier, by like, them getting over pushed and shit, but like, that's the reason why they're getting over pushed, bro, because like, they just have the results.
Entire industry for decades. Without the McMahons, there is no WWE. For decades, this family controlled every storyline, every championship, and every career in the biggest wrestling company on earth. But power corrupts, and the McMahon family became the perfect example of how absolute control can destroy everything. Vince McMahon built an empire, but he also became wrestling's most hated boss. The stories about him are legendary, and not in a good way. Wrestlers talk about his temper, his weird demands, and his need to control everything. Then came the scandals.
It's crazy because like he made a character and he, ended up being like so far worse than his character that he was playing on TV. People really did not fuck with this nigga behind the scenes.
The lawsuits. In the early 90s, Vince was caught in a steroid scandal. Then in 2007, WWE was once again under scrutiny after the Benoit tragedy for neglecting the health and safety of the wrestlers. Vince managed to walk out clean every single time, but then came the Janelle Grant allegations that finally brought down the man who seemed untouchable. Vince was forced to step down as chairman in 2022, made a brief return in 2023, was pushed out once again, and hasn't been seen in the WWE since. Shane McMahon was the cool son, but he has been missing from the wrestling scene for years, with no plans for a return anytime soon.
I low-key think that's for the best, honestly, because last time Shane... Well, before he came back again, before that situation, he was just booking himself all everywhere around the Rumble, bruh. And that's some dislikable shit backstage. But honestly, overall, I fucks with Shane. And I fucks with Stephanie. Even though her character on the fucking the screen was annoying.
Stephanie McMahon played the corporate princess role, and her on-screen character was so good at being awful that fans started to hate her in real life. Triple H married into the family and caught some of the heat. Fans accused him of politicking his way to the top through his marriage to Stephanie. Today, the game sits at the top of WWE Creative and runs the empire. The couple also gets hate because of how their relationship impacted the lives and careers of wrestlers like Chyna, Test, and Booker T. Whether you love them or hate them, without the McMahon family, WWE doesn't become what it is today. But while the McMahon family is defined by power and scandals, the Wyndhams are known for their love of the craft. While other families chase championships and money, the Wyndhams mastered the art of storytelling. They understood that wrestling isn't just about wins and losses, it's about making people believe in something bigger. Bray Wyatt changed modern wrestling forever with the Firefly Funhouse, The Fiend, and his cult leader persona. Fans hung on every word because they never knew what twisted story he'd tell next. His creativity was off the
Bro, it's still always a mockery of like what the hell they did to his cult leader gimmick, and what the fuck they did to the the Fiend gimmick, bro. It has so much potential to be way more better than it was if the booking was better, bro. But Vince McMahon didn't really understand anything, bro. And that's something rare about his family. Like, they really do know how to do the storytelling, bro. It all started with his dad, bro. And he got the cult gimmick from like his dad, but like, fucking Bray Wyatt was a genius and he enhanced that shit.
charts, and wrestling fans respected that more than any championship reign. His feuds with John Cena and Daniel Bryan were brilliant, and Bray looked ready for another big push when he returned with a new character in 2022. But then, in 2023, tragedy struck. Bray's sudden death
R.I.P.
shocked the entire wrestling world. However, instead of controversy or scandal, the stories that came out were beautiful. Wrestlers talked about how kind he was, how he helped younger talent, how he always had time for fans. The Wyndham family lost their brightest star, but his legacy proved what this family was really about. Bo Dallas carried the family tradition in his own way. He became Uncle Howdy, formed the Wyatt Six, and carried on Bray's legacy, before unceremoniously getting released from the company in 2026. The Wyndham family never got caught up in backstage politics. They never demanded special treatment. Fans loved them because they could see the passion and creativity that went into the craft. In a business full of egos and drama, the Wyndhams stayed pure. But not every wrestling family figured out that balance between talent and attitude. Some families had all the skill in the world but couldn't stay out of their own way. The Orton family proves that wrestling fans can change their minds, but it takes a lot of work and even more time. Randy Orton started as one
With the Orton family, it takes a long fucking good while, bro. Randy Orton had his demons. I don't know about his dad. I don't really heard anything about it. Only vile thing I ever heard him fucking do is, not telling the Undertaker that he was bleeding and he had like some disease. I forgot what he had. Like, was some, I don't know, it was some sexual disease or whatever he had, and he was bleeding everywhere, and the Undertaker was so pissed off, bro, that they had to let him go, bro. Bro, I would have been so fucking pissed off too, bro, because like that's like something you really got to disclose. I know you so clearly want to show like Son's like feud to go off with a hitch, but like, you fucking bleeding everywhere and you giving a disease to somebody? Hell no, bro.
one of the most hated wrestlers in the business. Young Randy was cocky, arrogant, and acted like he owned the place. He got into backstage fights. He disrespected veterans. He acted like a spoiled brat who thought his last name guaranteed him success. He'd throw tantrums when things didn't go his way. He'd no-show events. Other wrestlers couldn't stand working with him. Fans saw right through his attitude and rejected him completely. Even when WWE tried to make him the next big thing, audiences just wouldn't buy it. But something changed over the years. Randy grew up. He started respecting the business and the people in it. He became a mentor to younger wrestlers instead of a bully. His work improved. His attitude improved. Most importantly, he stopped acting like he was better than everyone else. He went on to become a multiple-time world champion, headlined WrestleMania, and had
That's really crazy. At least Vince McMahon did something well with somebody. That proves that he had a lot of faith in Randy to just keep on going, because like after all those problems, giving him chance by chance, any other normal wrestler, he would have fucking fired him by now, as you can tell throughout the years. When people be having problems, they want them to get them out the door.
memorable feuds against everyone from John Cena and Triple H to Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt. The transformation took over a decade, but fans finally came around. Now when Randy's music hits, people actually cheer. Wrestlers talk about how much they respect him. He went from being one of the most hated wrestlers to being a beloved veteran. Bob Orton Sr. had his own reputation issues back in the day, but time has been kinder to the family legacy. The Orton name used to mean trouble. Now it means legacy and respect. And speaking of legacy, the next family on our list took their
That's all the information he had on Bob Orton, because I wanted to hear.
on-screen characters a bit too seriously and paid the price in real life. The $1 Million Man gimmick saw Ted play a rich, evil tyrant who exploited the weak and laughed in their faces. It was one of the most well-known acts of the 90s, but his sons took it to another level. After failing in the WWE, Ted Jr. started a non-profit organization, and for a while, things were stable. However, later allegations of wire fraud, theft, and money laundering surfaced, and Ted Jr. faced the possibility of spending years in prison. He was acquitted of all—
Yo, bro, look old. Bro, looks so old now. I know he's like at least 40 now, but like Cody Rhodes look young as hell at least. But like he's looking old as hell. But like when I heard that he did this, I would always wonder where Ted DiBiase went after his whole little thing. Of just, I guess, he quitting wrestling or retiring from wrestling. I always wonder what happened to him, and then I learned about this huge ass case, and I'm like, that's pretty fucked up. So like, y'all really like taking being rich not as a gimmick, and you taking it into real world and trying to scam people, and flaunting your money around.
charges in March 2026. But the
Lucky
situation
as
did
fuck.
massive damage to the family's reputation and tainted their legacy forever. However, while Ted Jr. was never a main event star, this next wrestler was destined to be the next biggest female star of her generation, but ended up ruining her family's legacy. The Blanchard family had everything they needed to be wrestling legends: incredible talent, championship pedigree, and the skills to be stars anywhere in the world. But sometimes talent isn't enough to overcome the damage that controversy can cause. Tully Blanchard was a legit star back in the day. He was a part of the legendary Four Horsemen. He was a technical wrestler who could work with anyone. His matches were clinics, and he had the charisma to back it up. Wrestling fans from that era still respect his work. But then came Tessa Blanchard, and everything went sideways. Impact Wrestling made her their world champion, the first woman to hold a major men's world title.
You know how much of a fucking honor that is to just be the first woman to hold that championship. WWE is not bold enough to let a woman hold the WWE title. Of course, they'll let them hold the Intercontinental title or maybe even the US title, but they will never let a woman hold the title like that. But just what came after this, they let her hold the title and she screwed up that badly.
Paper, she should have been the future of women's wrestling. She was destined to arrive in WWE and feud against names like Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. Instead, she became one of wrestling's most controversial female wrestlers. Allegations of backstage bullying, claims that she used offensive language toward other wrestlers, reports of unprofessional behavior that made companies not want to work with her. Wrestling fans turned on her fast. The same fans who should have been celebrating her historic championship run instead questioned whether she deserved the opportunities she got. The controversy overshadowed everything she accomplished in the ring. The Blanchard name went from representing excellence to representing problems. Reputation is everything in wrestling, and once you lose it, getting it back is almost impossible. The Blanchards proved that wrestling families can have all the talent in the world, but if they can't stay out of controversy, none of it matters. Fortunately, some wrestling families—
Yeah, that's true. If you can't stay out of controversy, you risk ruining your family's legacy. I don't know. She's kind of recuperating it right now, but it'll take a lot of fucking mending to do that. I mean, especially fans be thinking some fans be thinking this is little backstage drama, but behind the scenes, this is not little backstage drama. Behind the scenes is way different than what y'all see on the surface.
figured out how to build reputations that last forever. The Hart family is the epitome of wrestling excellence. For over 5 decades, this Calgary family has shown the world what professional wrestling should look like when it's done right. It all started with Stu Hart and his legendary dungeon, the basement where he trained some of the greatest wrestlers who ever lived. Stu didn't just teach moves, he taught respect for the business. Work hard, treat people right, and always put the wrestling first. Bret Hart became the family's biggest star, and fans loved him for all the right reasons. Every Bret Hart match was a clinic. Every storyline felt real. He never took shortcuts or relied on politics. He just outworked everyone else. He was one of the best in-ring performers of the 90s and carried the company through one of its most difficult periods. The Montreal Screwjob should have destroyed Bret's legacy, but fans saw how WWE screwed him over, and they respected him even more. Owen Hart—
Bro, just to think if they didn't do this screw job and everything, he would have just been still wrestling well into the the 2000s, and you know would have had a. I mean, he already had a legendary career, but like he would have had an even more legendary career. Just to think all the people he could have faced in WWE if he didn't go to WCW and get injured by fucking Goldberg. I know that's like a story in itself, and he won't let that go. But like, you can say sorry so many times to a person, but you ended their career, bro.
Hart was the family's heart and soul. Fans loved his humor, his talent, and his dedication to his family. He won the Intercontinental title multiple times, and his match versus brother Bret at WrestleMania 10 is still considered one of the best Mania matches of all time. He could wrestle a serious match and also pull off comedy roles like the Blue Blazer with the same ease. His tragic death reminded everyone that wrestling is about more than entertainment. It's about real people with real families who love them.
Yeah.
Today, Natalya carries on the Hart legacy. She's not the biggest star, but she represents everything.
Yeah, man. I feel like the most liked, in my opinion, that I would choose are the Samoans, and then the Hart Foundation. Controversy aside, I will still say I hate the McMahons, bro. Even though I like some of them, but I still will say I hate the McMahons overall. Because I never really got to like really, you know, grow up and like kind of like know the full behind the scenes of like Tessa Blanchard's family, or you know, maybe even the Ortons. He didn't really tell detail about that. Only thing I know about the Ortons is, you know, the little blood thing I told you about earlier with the Undertaker. You know, just Randy being a menace or whatever, because I grew up with the 2009 Randy, and hearing what happened behind the stages and all of that with Randy, I kind of get it. But I still say, in my opinion, yeah, I hate the most hated for me are the McMahons, and the two liked are I said the Usos, but the Samoans and the Hart Foundation. Tell me what's your guys' favorite and what's your most liked and most hated below. Go look at the original video. I'll have it linked below. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. We are on the road to 650. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Catch you later.
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?